before I grab the phone calls, I do want to mention I did watch the entire show yesterday, Too Big to Fail on HBO. And if you didn't watch it, don't bother. It wasn't that entertaining. But what I really got from it is, and they managed, this was so kind of biased. They even managed to make Barney Frank and Chris Dodd look like the good guys. Basically, it was Henry Paulson, of course, was the lead character. I like the guy that played Ben Bernanke. I've seen him, and he's a good actor too. He was in quite a few good movies. So and he did a very good Ben Bernanke. But they managed to make Ben Bernanke look like a good guy. They made Henry Paulson look like a good guy. Even Nancy Pelosi. All of the government characters were portrayed in a positive light. The business characters, they didn't make them look really evil. They weren't like, burning flies, under microscopes or something, magnifying glasses. They weren't kicking homeless people as they were walking down the street. They didn't necessarily vilify them or anything. But the whole inference, or the point they were trying to make, was that the problems in the banking sector, the problems on Wall Street, were simply the result of not enough government oversight, not enough government regulation, and that the government, with the stimulus, with the bailouts, with the TARPs, saved the economy from complete and utter collapse, from something that would have been worse than the Great Depression. It would have been worse had the government not come to the rescue. So I think that is the wrong lesson to have been learned. And the fact of the matter is, if we really were on the brink of something worse than the Great Depression, imagine what we're on the brink of now. Because the government didn't solve these problems, right? They postponed the day of reckoning, but the actions that they took simply made the underlying problems worse. So if it was going to be worse than the Great Depression, in 2008, imagine what awaits us. And, of course, that is the real lesson, and they haven't learned it. So I guess HBO in a few years is going to have to make another movie about the even bigger economic and financial crisis. I'll see if they can figure out how to make the government and the Federal Reserve somehow come out looking like the good guys once again. Anyway, let me go to the telephone call, see if I can get a couple of calls in before the guest. Chris from New York. Chris, you're on.
Hey, Peter, I called yesterday about the movie, so I appreciate the critique.
Did you watch it?
Oh, I watched it. I felt basically a similar response to what you just gave. I thought Bernanke was done pretty well. I thought it was mildly entertaining, but, yeah, the premise of it was a little bit flawed, and they didn't mention interest rates or anything like that.
Oh, there was no – there would have been some behind-the-scenes discussion. Like nobody was blaming Bernanke or nobody was blaming Fannie or Freddie. When Fannie and Freddie were going down, there was no talk about any government culpability or any explanation about how they were able to get so big or. But I thought the one thing that was interesting is when they did show the guy from China whispering in Paulson's ear, hey, you better bail these guys out. We got a lot of these bonds.
Right. That looked like the most accurate part of the movie.
But I would have liked to have seen some more discussion, like to say, hey, if we don't bail these guys out, they're telling us they're going to pull the trigger,
Right. That was the next logical thing to come out of his mouth. So my question is that I see in the news, I'll make it quick, that Utah has now